Coming up on the Inside Indiana Business Television podcast, Republic Airways tries to navigate the pandemic fallout. Saab is seeking growth at Purdue's Discovery Park. Catalent in Bloomington looks to be part of an ultimate vaccine solution. Some truckers are scrambling to find freight. Indiana's golf industry is faring better than many others during lockdown. And an Indianapolis pediatrician and mom taps into her entrepreneurial spirit to make your mealtime safer. Welcome to the Inside Indiana Business Television podcast. I'm Andy Ober. Indianapolis-based Republic Airways is one of two major regional carriers that has not reached a deal to receive a share of $25 billion set aside for passenger carriers in the massive federal stimulus package. The company says jobs will be lost without grant funding. CEO Brian Bedford spoke with Inside Indiana Business host Gary Dick about the challenging times.
I mentioned off the top that application for federal assistance that would help you keep the majority of those 6,700 employees you have. Any update on if you have received that yet and where that stands?
Sure, Gary. We applied for federal assistance back at the end of March when the CARES Act was passed. We anticipated funding in the first 2 weeks of April. That hasn't happened yet, so we're still waiting for the funds to arrive. We've been in deep discussions with the Treasury Department trying to resolve outstanding issues, and I think we're close. So we remain optimistic that we will see those funds in the not too distant future. But it's difficult to maintain 6,700 employees when there's no revenue coming in.
Talk about the impact, the obvious impact. I mentioned the reduction in flights, which has been dramatic. How dramatic has it been from a business standpoint?
Well, as you pointed out in your intro, Gary, we operate over 1,100 flights a day on average pre-COVID-19, and we're under 200 flights a day today. So it has been a dramatic reduction in service. Now, we are trying to maintain critical air service links, especially into some of the hot spots like New York City and Newark, New Jersey. But it's tough. It's keeping our employees safe and healthy, and keeping our passengers on board safe and healthy is the number one priority.
Brian, as you look at going back to work, which that process has started, how are you beginning at least to ramp up service and ramp up business?
Well, first it comes with trying to give our customers a sense of their own security, Gary. So amazing measures are in place to clean aircraft after each flight, making sure that customers have access to face masks and hand sanitizers and disposable gloves, things of that nature that we can invest in for their own security. But again, we also have to make sure that customers understand when they get to the other side of their travel that there's a reason to be there. So we really need our partners in the hospitality industry also to start to embrace a slow, measured, safe reopening of the economy.
Yeah, and you've given us a flavor, a little hint there on what travelers can expect. But my next question was, what can air travelers expect in the industry as it begins to get back to some normalcy? What is the flying experience going to be like post-pandemic?
Right. Well, I'm pleased to say that prior to the pandemic, the flying experience, at least on Republic and our codeshare partners, has been exceptional. I mean, exceptional customer service. That won't change, even though our flight attendants may be behind a mask and some of the serving that we do on the aircraft may be more limited to reduce human contact as we're starting to get to understand the new normal. That may be slightly different, but you're going to find exceptional travel values waiting for those who are ready to go fly. And you're going to find, unfortunately, some fairly empty aircraft. So social distancing for the foreseeable future won't be terribly difficult on aircraft.
Brian, final question for you. I know, there are some people painting a rather grim outlook, if you will, for the airline industry. You are one of those people who are very bullish on the airline industry. And, to that point, some time ago, you instituted the Lift Academy to actually train future employees, a really proactive step into getting talent into the industry. What is the future of that facility, the Lift Academy, where you've been training people to go into aviation? What's the status on that?
Right. Well, Gary, when Governor Holcomb ordered schools to close back in mid-March, we did, in fact, close our Lift Academy as well as our corporate training facilities here in Indianapolis. As the governor opens up the state, we look forward to very quickly reopening the Lift Academy as well as our central training facility here in Indianapolis. And we believe the future remains bright. While this may be a 1 or 2 year delay in terms of the industry's development, I believe in America. I believe in consumers who desire to travel and gain experiences both domestically and globally. So I think this is it's a short-term pause, but long-term, the Lift Academy will be a competitive advantage for us.
Brian Bedford is the CEO of Republic Airways based here in Indianapolis. Brian, as always, thank you for the time. Look forward to talking to you soon, hopefully in person. Stay safe out there.
Thanks, Gary. Take care.
All right.
Meantime, Saab is still looking to bring more than 300 jobs to its aerospace facility at Purdue's Discovery Park in West Lafayette. The company says it is already starting to interview for positions. Robert Ulabari, the facility's new general manager, joined us with an update.
Well, first of all, we've done a number of stories on this, certainly big news at the time of the announcement. But talk about this $37 million investment by Saab in West Lafayette, Purdue University's aerospace district, part of the Discovery Park district there. Talk about the facility and what actually will be going on from a production standpoint.
Absolutely. So you did a nice job of introducing the initial start of production is for the T-7A. Aft section of the Red Hawk program for the United States Air Force. And this is going to be a little over 100,000 square foot facility that's going to incorporate advanced manufacturing techniques, which means essentially we're going to leverage technology to help us improve the efficiency of the workers and the team, as well as improve the transfer of information throughout the factory to really make it a modern factory of the future.
Robert, you're in hiring mode right now. I know the plant is scheduled to open with full production, I think, or actually target for fall of 2021 in terms of beginning production. But you're in hiring mode right now. Talk about the kinds of workers, the kinds of people you're looking to hire.
Yes, we're immediately hiring. Starting early this spring, we had some initial job postings, and we're going to be hiring through the upcoming years till 2027, when we'll be hiring over 300 employees. The types of positions that we're looking for or filling range from administration and management and engineering, as well as technical assembly. This will be primarily an assembly facility. So what that brings to it is everything from skills trade for hand tools and material handling to quality inspection. So really a wide variety of opportunities and a great opportunity for the local community.
Robert, this is a coming home of sorts for you. You have not one but 2 degrees from Purdue, a native of Peru, Indiana, so a lot of Hoosier roots in your background. Talk about, if you will, what you see as the potential, not only for this Saab facility as it gets off the ground, but the aerospace district at Purdue, which includes big names like Rolls-Royce, GE Aviation obviously is nearby. What ultimately could this aerospace district represent? To me, it looks like the potential for a real hub of activity.
That's right. Purdue's already cemented themselves as the industry leader in aeronautic engineering. But, there's lots of other disciplines in engineering that are very prevalent in both research and in education at Purdue. And partnering in the aerospace district with companies such as GE or Rolls-Royce really start a lot of natural conversations. Promoting advanced manufacturing in America is obviously our goal, and the ways that we choose to execute the tools and the methods are constantly evolving and changing. I think being adjacent to Purdue in the aerospace district gives us great access to the student and professors and the overall educational population, as well as with relative proximity to our neighbors that are also in aerospace that are facing the same challenges. A lot of organic conversations are going to occur naturally. And for us, we really want to benchmark and build upon the great things that have happened historically in manufacturing, but challenge ourselves to be a factory of the future by instituting, those new research methods.
Robert Ulibarri is the first and the new general manager at the Saab facility, $37 million facility in West Lafayette. Robert, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Catalent in Bloomington is working with Johnson & Johnson on potential logistics surrounding a leading COVID-19 vaccine candidate. Catalent specializes in delivery, development, and manufacturing solutions for drugs, gene therapies, and other consumer health products. Vice President and General Manager Dennis Johnson spoke with Kylie Valletta in the business of health.
Let's just do a quick refresher. The Bloomington plant there focuses on producing biologics, which are very advanced and complex medicines. What does it mean for this facility in Bloomington to land this kind of a prominent deal?
Well, we're really happy about this, for a variety of reasons. One, it puts us on the front line of the fight against COVID, and we're really pleased to be able to do our part in it. I think we have a unique set of skill sets and capabilities that we're able to bring to the table and help that fight. And I'm also really pleased that Janssen has allowed us to make it public. When you look at the landscape, we're often not allowed to speak about the products that we work on. Catalent as a whole is large, with 40 different plants, does over 70 billion doses. Most of the people do not recognize what's made by Catalent. So the fact that Janssen is allowing us to have the discussion is a great thing for our community and our employees to be able to speak publicly about this.
So tell us what kind of work will take place at the plant if this vaccine candidate is successful, and what's the timeline for that work?
Sure. So the first part of it is we got to get ready. And if you manage, if the Colts were still playing right now, we're in the 2-minute drill, trying to speed up what we had last talked about. So Kylie, when you on our last discussion about a year ago, we had talked about being at 1,100 headcount and ramping up over the next few years to 200. Well, we're going to have to ramp up by 300 in 6 months, and we're going to have to finish the construction of the building and accelerate what we had planned on doing in the next year and do it in the next 6 months. So it's kind of like the 2-minute drill. We're really going to have to move faster.
So when will that hiring process begin? And give us your perspective on the local workforce there in Bloomington and its ability to support that.
Well, it's going to start very soon. When you look at the 300 headcounts, we are in the process of submitting the requisitions. They're going to get posted. We're going to start hiring in July of this year. Some of our jobs that are the more technical jobs have up to a 6-month training cycle. Our goal is to be ready for 24/7 operations in January of 2021. To get there, we're going to have to start hiring the longer lead time jobs, the more complex engineering and technical jobs, starting in July. And then we're going to continue hiring, and some of the simpler jobs may come in October, November, December, but we're going to start that 300 hiring in July.
And the Bloomington workforce, wide and deep there, you think, to help support that?
Well, it's a great workforce, and that's one of the main reasons that Catalent is here today. That's what differentiates us, and we've been able to ramp up thanks to the great local universities, whether it's IU, Purdue, Rose-Hulman. There's great skill sets in the area, and really Bloomington is a hub of the biotech industry when you look at the companies in the area and in Indianapolis. So I think there's a lot of talent in the area. And we've been able to ramp up, like I said, from our last discussion just over a year ago, where we were 1,100. We're well over 1,200 now, and we'll be 300 more in the next 6 months. So the local area can support that hiring, and it's a great area to be working, running a factory such as this, and because of the people in the area.
Okay, and Dennis, just a couple seconds left. You mentioned, meanwhile, you're also having to make some changes to protect your workforce there as they're coming to work each day.
Our workforce is our most important assets, and whether it's social distancing, masks, visitor guidelines, work from home policies, where a large percentage of our staff that can work from home do work from home. We're altering almost every aspect of our work and finding creative ways to do things because we have to keep our employees safe. They are the heart and soul of our company. They are what's going to make the medicines that are going to help us, in my opinion, have a large impact on the COVID crisis. So we have to protect them because we need them. And that's we're very pleased to be able to do that and still support the manufacturing necessary
Well, Dennis, thank you so much for being on the show. Good luck with that 2-minute drill down there in Bloomington.
Thank you very much, Callie. We're looking forward to it.
Remember, you can catch Inside Indiana Business Television on stations throughout the state every weekend. Head to InsideIndianaBusiness.com to check listings. The economic fallout of COVID-19 has some trucking carriers scrambling to find freight, as many sectors deal with a significant slowdown. Inside Indiana Business reporter Mary Rachel Redman went to Elwood to talk to one company that's been in business for 30 years.
We're just that annoying, pesty, big glob of steel out on the interstate, and that's, unfortunately, that's how a lot of people look at drivers.
But the U.S. economy needs truck drivers now more than ever.
If it wasn't for the truck drivers, the economy wouldn't be moving. But that's nothing different than what it was before the virus. Trucking always moves the economy. Everything that we reach for and everything that we use daily is brought by a truck driver. So the economy would be at a standstill if it wasn't for the trucking industry. And so I think the awareness that it's brought to our industry is it's the great truck drivers that bring that product to the grocery store.
And one of those drivers is Richard Lewis, who's been driving a semi for the last 14 years. On average, he says he logs over 500 miles a day driving as far south as Georgia and to the East Coast down into the Carolinas. And despite the inherent risks of coronavirus to his own health, he says he's just doing his job.
At the end of the day, it's nothing different than what we do every day. This is what we have always done. We've always delivered goods. So again, it's just another day in the office.
People take drivers for granted. The people that come to work every day to do good, they're getting recognition today, which they didn't yesterday. There are a lot of people that are essential that we had never even thought about because they just don't know. And I hope that carries forward.
People that'll maybe give you the finger occasionally, maybe
all the time.
Yeah, honk at you, maybe not be, they're not very nice to you on the road. What do you want people to know about you as a driver?
It's our job. I have a family too, just like they do, and this is how I feed my family. I'm out here providing just like this guy does in the hospital or this guy does building a house.
Mary Rachel Redman, Inside Indiana Business.
Indiana's golf industry has fared better than many others because many of the state's courses have been allowed to stay open throughout the lockdown. Indiana Golf says it's working with its member courses to implement best practices when it comes to safety. Executive Director Mike David spoke with Bill Benner on Inside Indiana Sports.
Indiana was luckier than most states in the fact that when we all shut down, golf in most Indiana counties continued.
Yeah, that's true, Bill. Obviously, Marion County was one that did have to close down for a while, and we had a couple of other pockets that were not allowed to open. But for the most part, we did function, and the golf courses were open throughout.
Talk about some of the protocols, the best practices, and I know the IGA has been championing that and certainly communicating with courses statewide about some of those things. And I think the one that most obvious comes to mind is one person per cart, but other precautions that are being taking place.
Yeah, we've done the best job we can at sharing best practices and encouraging our member courses and our PGA members to follow those guidelines that are out there. But as you mentioned, one rider per cart, not touching the flag sticks, using either the pool noodles or PVC pipes in the cup so the ball only falls a couple inches in and it can be easily retrieved with 2 fingers without putting your whole hand down in the cup. Rakes have been removed from golf courses. Water coolers have been removed. So basically any potential touch point, why we've tried to eliminate to make it as safe as possible during these times.
Mike, it's interesting. I live nearby a couple of golf courses, and again, even when the weather has been not good, and we've had some pretty iffy spring weather, they've seemed to be remarkably busy. And again, I know it's not at normal levels, but still business has been pretty good.
Yeah, all things considered, I think you're absolutely correct. I think there's a pent-up desire that a lot of people have right now just to get outside and to be active. And fortunately, Governor Holcomb said from the beginning that he encouraged people to get out, and golf has been allowed to continue to function. And we have seen a lot of people taking advantage of it, without a doubt.
And of course, golf is, at one of its basic premises, it is a social sport. Again, it's competitive and you have a lot of things going on, but it is a social sport at its core.
Yeah, no doubt. I've played a handful of times during this 6-week period or so, and walked and carried clubs and played with a few other people. And it's easy to practice social distancing on the golf course and still have a good time, still carry on a conversation. And honestly, I felt a lot safer on the golf course than pumping gas or going to the grocery store or some other things that you can do right now.
Mike, the IGA does, you run a number of tournaments. You have an ambitious junior program. Have you made any determination about when and if some of those events and tournaments can take place?
Yeah, we actually are working with the Indiana Golf Course Owners Association right now, and we've come up with a pretty comprehensive plan for when we can get back open from a tournament standpoint, but also to help golf courses in knowing, when they can have 2 people in a cart, when they can put rates back on the golf course. So we are getting ready to submit that to the governor's office. Hopefully we'll have a reply next week, but ultimately our goal is to start functioning again with our first tee clinics and our tournaments the last week of May.
Yeah, I was going to ask about first tee because it's a great program to introduce golfers statewide to the game. And I assume that's on at least temporary hold.
Yeah, it is right now, but we think again by the end of May, especially with first tee, because you're normally talking less than 25 kids in a clinic. Again, we'll have social distancing guidelines in place. You won't see any high fives or hugs or handshakes for a while, but we still think we can operate safely and responsibly. We're in 320 elementary schools statewide now, Bill, with the first tee. We're in 18 different communities across the state and reaching over 100,000 kids annually. So it's a tremendous program, not only teaching the game of golf, but the life skills and the 9 core values that go along with it.
Hey, Mike, quickly as we wrap up, and this probably doesn't, it's a tough question for a short answer, but the economy is taking a hit. Discretionary income is going to be less for a lot of people. Do you think golf can weather that storm?
I think it can weather the storm. I think that, you may see some courses having to severely cut back on staffing. Hopefully they'll all be able to stay open. I think the big hit probably this year is going to be from an outings standpoint and for the fundraising events. Hopefully those events aren't hit too hard, but I know there's some concern out there in the industry about how it's going to be this summer.
Well, Mike David of the Indiana Golf Association, again, longtime executive director, we certainly appreciate you taking the time to come on the air, and we look forward to seeing you on the first tee somewhere.
The International Center in Indianapolis is launching its James T. Morris Global Leadership Series this summer. The organization is also continuing its search for the 2020 Global Impression Award recipient. CEO Martin Beyer joined Gary to update the center's agenda.
First of all, I should, in full disclosure, mention that I am on the board of directors of the International Center and proud to serve in that role. But Martin, for those people who don't know or aren't aware of the International Center's role, talk about the International Center and the kinds of things it does on a daily basis.
Well, thank you, Gary. And as you mentioned at the beginning, the International Center has been around for almost 50 years. Working in international affairs, actually bringing the world to Indiana, either serving our companies and businesses and helping with logistics for international employees and experts that are coming to our state, hosting delegations and dignitaries from around the world, and also involved in exchange programs with the U.S. Department of State, where they invite emerging leaders from all over the world to come to Indiana. We're the only organization in that program with the State Department.
Martin, in my view, the International Center has always had an important role in our community. And when I say a community, it's not only Indianapolis, but the state of Indiana as well. But we do so many stories about the Indiana presence on the global stage and the companies locating and investing big time here, whether it's Infosys or Salemtech, or we had Saab on the program a bit earlier. So many more companies stepping up and investing in Indiana. In your view, does the role of the International Center kind of elevate itself with that increased profile of Indiana?
Yes, absolutely. And as you know, I'm an expert myself, and we all know this is the right place to do business. And the International Center is a resource. Once a company decides to do business here in our state, then we can help with all the logistics, bringing in their leadership teams and employees. And so being a resource is definitely a plus.
And I know high on your agenda is continuing to come up with initiatives and programs and things that keep the International Center relevant. I want to touch on a couple of those. And one that is new is the James T. Morris Global Leadership Series. Of course, Jim Morris, community, business, philanthropic leader, very tough to overstate his importance on Indianapolis and Indiana over the years. This leadership series is really something that's going to be unique, a first of its kind in Indiana.
Yes, absolutely. And we're proud and honored that Jim Morris is associated with the program. And this is not your basic leadership course, but it's focused on leading effectively across cultures. The program is delivered over 5 full-day monthly sessions, and our confirmed session hosts are organizations that play a key role in Indiana's global landscape, as, for example, the IEDC, the IU Family School of Philanthropy, Taft, and the Indianapolis Airport Authority. And our participants will learn about global leadership from a mix of high-level presenters, speakers, and panelists, but also facilitated dialogues and activities.
Yeah, going to be a very interesting series, and applications for those interested have already begun to be accepted, and that goes, I believe, through mid-June.
Correct. Absolutely.
Okay, good. So the James T. Morris Global Leadership Series. Also something that has been in effect now for a little while. It's still a relatively new program. The Global Impression Award. Talk about that award and why it was really created.
Yes, the Global Impression Award is now in its 3rd year, and it seeks to identify and celebrate emerging leaders who are on early stage of their career, but are already helping Indiana make an impact globally. And there's some incredible work being done here in our state that has a worldwide impact. And we want to celebrate and showcase these outstanding efforts and the young talents behind them. And as you remember, last year's recipient was George Soror with Building Tomorrow, who is doing an incredible work for children in East Africa. And for the Impression Award, we're accepting nominations for this year, starting in June 1st and to July 15th.
All right, good. And that in terms of another major initiative, should mention very quickly the International Citizen of the Year Award this year will go to former U.S. Congressman and community leader Dan Coates. That'll be a big event, always is a big event a little bit later in the year. Martin Beyer, the CEO of the International Center, appreciate your leadership and thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
And finally this week, Indianapolis pediatrician Manasa Mantravati and her parents are from India, where stainless steel dishes have been used at mealtime for generations. After the American Academy of Pediatrics mentioned stainless steel as a way to limit families' exposure to certain chemicals, Mantravati formed Ahimsa to help bring the practice here. She joined us for our Business Spotlight.
Stainless steel product here, eatingware, if you will. Where did you come up with the inspiration, the idea to create Ahimsa? Thank you.
Yes. So ahimsa is actually a Sanskrit word meaning avoiding harm. And so when I saw this statement from the American Academy of Pediatrics, I knew that stainless steel was something that was very familiar to me because I grew up on stainless steel. It's the cultural norm in India and a lot of other Asian countries where it's the material of choice. And so I knew that being able to offer this material had to still be enticing for children. And so I had seen kind of in the medical space a process in which you could change properties in metal itself to produce very beautiful colors. And I thought, wow, we have this existing material, we have this existing and a process in place, why not combine them to create a product that then is appealing to children, is safer for children, and is a solution to the problem that is posed with plastic, as evidenced by the AAP statement.
So you've got the safety element with the stainless steel, but really kind of your unique selling proposition, if you will, are the all of the different colors that all these products come in.
Yes, so it actually happens with chemistry and physics. And so you just essentially take metal itself, change the internal properties, and it can produce these beautiful rainbows. And so we have one in a true rainbow form. It comes in kind of an iridescent pink, yellow, and green. And then the other one is called iridescent blue. And so it's a bluish purple. It's one of my favorites. My children prefer the true rainbow, but I like the iridescent blue. And so having those two colors with intentions of continuing to try to figure out new recipes using chemistry and physics to create even more colors down the road is what I would like to do. But first, again, we wanted to test the product, test the market, see if consumers would really say, this is something I want. And in the past few months, we have seen that tends to be true.
Well, talk about that, because the product is certainly gaining traction. I know you were featured on display at the Indiana Conference for Women, which is one of the largest conferences of its kind held each and every year here in Indianapolis. Talk about the traction. You caught the attention of Rachel Ray, among others. Talk about how the product is selling.
Yeah, so we were fortunate enough to have a table at the Indiana Conference for Women. And so the keynote speakers, many women who were there, would kind of walk past our booth and see these bright, shiny, iridescent objects. And so that was actually the very first time we were still in pre-orders. We did a pre-order launch from October through December, and really launched our company in January. And so that time was our very first, introduction to the world. And how fitting! It was in, Indiana, and it was a conference for women. And we have a team of females here. And so Rachel Ray was the keynote speaker. And again, our products tend to be pretty unique, and they catch your eye. Like literally they catch your eye because they're so shiny. And so that's just what happened. And she said, "What is this? Oh my gosh, I love this." And was able to take a picture with us. And after that, being featured locally here in the Indianapolis Star during our Thanksgiving sale was wonderful for our traction. And since that time, we've just continued to grow. And the response has been really overwhelming. It's as though when you put this in front of parents, the response that we're getting is, we've been looking for something like this. We've been looking for an alternative to plastic. And so we just feel really proud that we can offer this solution for parents.
Final question for you. What is next? Again, you talk about traction. You're selling online, so e-commerce. You're already in more than 40 states. Where do you see the product going, Manasa?
Yes, from here, I think certainly in the changing times that we are living in, we've seen that e-commerce remains a bit stronger than the big box stores for the moment. Clearly, we don't necessarily know what that means long term. But for the moment, even prior to COVID, my plan was really to stay direct to consumer for right now, because again, we are a very young company. We wanted to start small, basically test the market, understand the system processes, everything from that customer journey online. You come to our website, you buy our product, you get the product shipped to you, you leave a review. We wanted to make sure that was all really smooth. And now that we know that our e-commerce is pretty strong, we're able to kind of take that next step, which is really grow online. And so, I hope that in the future we are on other marketplaces. So whether that is, Amazon or maybe other big box stores that are still selling online, that's really the next kind of achievable goal, because I like to be really realistic in what we can achieve, because I want to be able to execute that with really good results.
Manasa Mantravati is a pediatrician, also very much an entrepreneur with these stainless steel products, colorful stainless steel products, really catching fire around the country. Manasa, thanks very much. Congratulations on your success. We look forward to following your story.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay.
That wraps up this week's Inside Indiana Business Television podcast. Remember, you can find all of this week's TV segments, as well as the top business news from throughout the state at InsideIndianaBusiness.com. While you're there, you can also subscribe to our platform of free e-newsletters. This is Andy Ober for Inside Indiana Business.